Hi, welcome to Monday Night Chat episode 89. I'm shooting from my house. After the Sabah trip, I've decided to take a short break. It's really my 10th wedding anniversary, so I'm going to take 5-6 days off, just relax, chill out, hang out with my family members. So for this week, we have, as usual, the Policy Monday, where we're going to continue our economic lecture series on history. And number 2, we're going to do the Q&A 120 seconds, but specific focus on the Sabah elections. And lastly, a small segment on the more Sabah elections.
Monday Night Chat with Wong Chen.
Brought to you by the Member of Parliament for Sabah.
Okay, this is the Monday Night Chat version of the economic lecture series, and this we're going to focus on history of economics part 2. We're going to deal with the 1918 war, the end of the war, World War I, all the way to the Vietnam War. Okay, very quickly, from 1918 to 1929, we saw the end of World War I to the Great Depression. We saw empires crumbling. Decolonization haven't really started, but started to crumble. We also saw political rights, women's rights, in particular, labor rights coming up strongly. We also saw the rise of American power. Germany, of course, suffered massive economic crisis after that with hyperinflation in the 1920s. This eventually saw the rise of Hitler, then planting the seeds for World War II. The inevitable rise of America's superpower was based on the concept of individualism, free market, migration of talents, organized industry, and the fact that America had abundant natural resources. Now, to the east, we look at the other superpower in the making. The 1917 Russian Revolution brought about communism and industrialized central planning. Why do we talk about history? So that we can look at the two systems developing. One, the free market after the war. On the other side, communism/socialism. We have to also worry about the first issues regarding hyper-capitalism. So you saw great American robber barons, what they call, who controlled the stock market, who controlled monopolies across the board, leading up to the crash of 1929 stock market crash. Yeah, so that is called the Great Depression. So from the Great Depression, we move all the way to World War II. You have to read the literature of its time. I mean, I'm a fan of literature, so you can read John Steinbeck on the Grapes of Wrath to understand what's the impact of the Dust Bowl in America back then. Yeah, we saw the rise of Franklin Roosevelt trying to bring some form of socialism, trying to curtail monopoly or try to reform parliament, and at the same time Hitler rising to more and more power, pushing the world into World War II. Now from World War II, the war started in 1939, of course, ended in 1945. You can imagine most of Europe was decimated. Yeah, so there was this big push to rebuild. So after the war, this is what we call the boom period from 1945 to 1968, the baby boomers period. Great period of employment, economic growth, good political stability. The welfare state got hold of Europe. Democracy flourished around the world. United Nations was formed. Universal values were pushed forward. Decolonization happened. Japan and Germany, who were the Axis allies in World War II, rebuilt themselves from the ruins of war, supported by America completely with new management thinking, new planning, central planning. Now, post-World War II, all the way up to the Bretton Woods. Bretton Woods is this system for establishing international commercial and financial rules. Now, they were all working at this kind of thing. This is where, if you want to understand, during that period of 45 to 68, you saw the creation of IMF, World Bank, yeah, from the Bretton Woods, yeah, essentially. Now, then the crucial period came is 1968. In 1968, the student movement started the counter-culture revolution. At that point, we already reached the greatest equality of wealth we have ever seen in the modern world, but the student revolution started to push the envelope, and then we saw, basically in 1968 to 1980, America pulling out Bretton Woods in 1971, got out of the gold standard. The impact of that is to create fiat money. The full impact of that is on fractional banking that we feel today. This fiat money in turn triggered the oil price values, right, to collapse. So then OPEC went into embargo. They had the US, the Yom Kippur War. So you had oil crisis. And this is where Keynes, who was then the preeminent economist of its time, essentially could not find a solution, or his teaching could not find a solution to the oil crisis, leading to the 1980s when Ronald Reagan came to power together in the same period with Margaret Thatcher, and they start pushing for neoliberal, conservative and right-wing economics. That leads us up to the 1980 period. Next week, we'll be looking at 1980s to the modern world to try to decipher to you, looking from the historical perspective, what the hell is quantitative easing, what is monetary policies and stuff like that. That's it for Monday Night Chat this week. Q&A this week, we're going to focus 100% on the Sabah election. So we're going to ask 5 questions, and then Jalin, please press the button. First question, how long were you there and with whom? My office sent a forward team which comprised of Ali and also Bala. Bala's my former intern, Ali's my officer. They went there on Friday and they came back on Monday together with me and Mr. Leong. Mr. Leong and I, Mr. Leong was my campaign manager. We went there on Saturday. We spent Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday we came back. Number 2, what was my role there? Basically, PKR HQ assigned 4 MPs to look after that particular area called Inanam, which is near KK. So my job is to go there and with my team to do the big data and to sort out the basic strategy and to give them some basic training on how to campaign. So the data work was done about 2 weeks ago. We went there, and then my presentation, Friday, Ali did the get to know them and briefed them that I'm coming. On Saturday, I gave a long presentation to the candidate and to the election team. Number 3, who is the candidate? The candidate is a Kadazan Dusun leader. He's an engineer and a lecturer as well. So this is a really good candidate. He's been with PKR for a long time, I think at least 10 years. And his wife is a housemaker or housewife. Her name is Beatrice, and she is also quite active in the whole campaign. Number 4, tell us a bit about Inanam. Inanam is a suburb of, well, not really suburb, I suppose it is. It's 10 kilometers from the city center of KK. It has 10 candidates contesting in this area. It used to be the MP, the other one used to be Kenny Chua, who defected over. So Inanam is a hot seat, and PKR is contesting in that. And lastly, what are the chances? On the ground, we asked around, we met Chinese Kapitan, we met Grab drivers, taxi drivers, we met the people on the street. It appears that we are going to win this particular thing. But the key point is this, it's a 10 corner fight. So anything can happen. But in a 10 corner fight scenario, you can just win about 35% to secure victory. So we're quite confident we're going to deliver Inanam in this coming Sabah election. That's it for Q&A this week.